Congressional Budget Office, sometimes they put out reports that are absolutely atrocious, and I think this is a good example of a very atrocious report. The other representatives here worked very hard on this to make sure that a lot of our rural hospitals are struggling despite what the Biden administration did to them for 4 years.
I want to watch a few clips from a hilariously bad JD Vance speech to show that he's still really bad at this. So if you can, take a moment, leave us a like on the video. It helps us out a bunch. It lets us know you enjoy the content, and let's get right to it.
We want to help the people who have the legal right to be in the United States of America. So it's not about kicking people off of health care. It's about kicking illegal aliens the hell out of this country so that we can preserve health care for the American families who need it.
Oh, dope. Well, wait, why are you kicking almost 15 million Americans off healthcare then with your one big beautiful bill? Why are we kicking millions off food stamps? Why are you defunding rural hospitals? We'll get more on that later. And you're limiting payments to providers, so out-of-pocket costs are higher even for those who remain on health insurance. Hey, there's tons of families who still need healthcare. The quickest solution might just be universal healthcare then, right? Since that's what you want. Oh no, you can't do that. So it is just about kicking people off healthcare then, enriching corporations and your donors and doing racism. Got it. The families who need it, right? Excluding the poor and those with trans children and women and those in blue states, and the list goes on.
We did a lot in this legislation. Brian worked on it. The other representatives here worked very hard on this to make sure that a lot of our rural hospitals are struggling because of some of the policies of the Biden administration. So what we did is we put a lot of resources and a lot of changes in regulations to make it possible for our rural hospitals to stay open despite what the Biden administration did to them for 4 years. So our policy is very simple. Whether you're in a big city or a small town, we're going to fight for your access to health care. Whether you're an American...
Yeah, we had record Medicaid expansion under the Biden administration, which especially accounts for rural areas. I love that the way for MAGA to go now is to just lie and they know the cult will believe it. Also, they are literally putting rural hospitals on their deathbed. Like, you can't say anything else. And I know the line is, we've added a $50 billion fund that'll save rural hospitals. The problem is rural hospitals are going to lose $70 billion in just Medicaid reimbursement over the same period and almost $150 billion in total cuts. If these people cared, they could do the least bit of research, and they could see that this is already playing out with many rural hospitals that have to close. Georgia Evans Memorial is projecting over $3 million in losses every year starting this year or next year when those kick in, and has eliminated multiple services with their ICU already at risk. Pemiscot Memorial in Missouri is on the brink of closing. Actually, there's reporting that over 300 hospitals are currently in immediate danger the second this goes into effect. But yeah, guys, Republicans care so much, and that's why they put in a fund that will do nothing.
There was a nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office report that came out last week showing that the bottom 10%, the poorest Americans, would lose about $1,200 a year on their income, while the top 10%, they would add about $13,000 annually to their income. Can you justify for those poorest Americans those differences?
Well, first of all, the Congressional Budget Office, sometimes they put out reports that are absolutely atrocious, and I think this is a good example of a very atrocious report. The most important thing for people who are living at the bottom of the income ladder is that they not pay taxes on their income sources.
No, that's not true at all. And JD Vance, the Harvard, Yale graduate, is smart enough to know that. The reason's simple math. Let's say you make $1,500 a month. 5% of that is $75. That's a nice dinner out and a movie. With that comes an increase in utilities from Trump's bill is around $120 annually. You could say, $12, a little under $11, $10 a month. A higher grocery bill as you no longer have food stamps, and your monthly prescription now comes out of pocket. The increased costs are expected to be hundreds of dollars for people in this tax bracket. Does that help the person more? Or what about this scenario where, say, you pay that $75 more in taxes, it doesn't get cut, and instead you have that couple $100 in food stamps to spend on your groceries to make sure your house is stocked. Your electric bill doesn't increase. You have your monthly prescription covered by insurance. I think the answer here is pretty obvious, and that's why these people will never really get into the weeds when they're talking about what their bills affect. Tax cuts only help those making a lot of money. It's that simple, right? It's literally, again, simple math. You're saving a percent of a number. The larger that number is, the larger the percent you're saving. So if you're not making a lot of money, you're not saving a lot of money on the tax cut. And if you're being subsidized a lot of money in your livelihood and those subsidies are getting cut to pay for the tax cut, you're going to be on a net loss. It's that simple of math. And if you're privileged enough to where your livelihood isn't set up like that, that's fine. But plenty of people's aren't. And that's why they're upset about this. And the thing is if you're upset at those people, if you want to blame those people, if you want to say this, this, and this, many of them work. So why aren't we mad at the corporations who are having record profits and bragging about it in our faces, who are paying people subpar wages to the point that your tax dollars have to go to subsidize them? Why are we mad at each other instead?